Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and it is May the 22nd, and we're ready for lesson 142 in A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students. Lesson 142, My Mind Holds Only What I Think with God. My mind holds only what I think with God. And of course, these 10 lessons are reviews, and we'll also be talking or reviewing lesson 123 and 124. I thank my Father for his gifts to me. Let me remember I am one with God. So we'll talk a little bit more about those. I did want to talk a little bit about our review and how we're going to review. We read it yesterday and I talked a little bit about it. I'd said we should only we're only going to take 5 minutes to do these morning and evening reviews, and I want to correct myself on that because with a little closer look at that, I realized that really what he wants us to do is to take that 5 minutes in the morning and think about, and in the evening, and settle into the awareness that your mind holds only what you think with God, and let that kind of bathe you. Don't bring the other ideas into it in that 5 minutes, or you can. I mean, it's not that you have to keep them separate. But what he's suggesting we do is to take that first 5 minutes and really bathe in the idea that your mind holds only what you think with God. And then after you've kind of settled into that, then take as long as you want. You can take a minute, you can take 2 minutes, you can take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, take whatever you want. And then he says that that's what time was made for, is that after that preparation, merely read each of the 2 ideas assigned to you to be reviewed that day. Then close your eyes and say them slowly to yourself. There's no hurry now, for you're using time for its intended purpose. Let each word shine with the meaning God has given it, and as it was given to you through his voice. Let each idea that you review that day give you the gift which he has laid in it for you to have of him. So we want to take that first 5 minutes and bring yourself to that place of experiencing or at least identifying yourself with the unchangeableness of God, and the realization that in your mind is the thoughts of God. My mind holds only what I think with God. Okay, I read to you paragraph 10 just now. Paragraph 9 started out saying 5 minutes with this thought will be enough to set the day along the lines which God appointed, and to place his mind in charge of all the thoughts you will receive this day. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Then after you've done that for what's going to probably take more like 10 minutes, realistically, and if you're going to set a timer, some of you need to set timers, and I know I've got scheduling and things I have to do during the day, and I want to be sure I do it, so I usually set my timer. But what I found is that if I set my timer for shorter than, if I'm having a really good meditation and my timer goes off, then I've got to push, dismiss the timer, and now I don't really seem to get back to the deep meditation that I was in before the timer went off. So I'd really encourage you not to use a timer for that reason. But if you need one, set it far enough so that if you get antsy and you want to leave, and you can that at least it's going to go off in 10 minutes or 15 or whatever. Otherwise, just have your clock sit beside you and glance at it after you think it's been the amount of time you need. All right. He says that each hour of the day, bring your mind the thought with which the day began. My mind holds only what I think with God. And spend a quiet moment with it. Then repeat the 2 ideas you practice for the day unhurriedly. Okay, so in our hourly remembrance, we're going to start off by just saying, my mind holds only what I think with God. And give it a moment. He said, spend a quiet moment, a moment, just whatever it takes to be quiet. And then recite your 2 lessons for the day, which today will be, I thank my Father for his gifts to me. Let me remember I am one with God. And then he tells us that once we've done that, we should do. He said, then repeat these 2 ideas you practice for the day unhurriedly. Very important, unhurriedly, with time enough to see the gifts which they contain for you, and let them be received where they were meant to be. Okay? We add no other thoughts, but let them be the messages they are. We need no more than this to give us happiness and rest and endless quiet, perfect certainty, and all our Father wills that we receive as the inheritance we have of him. Okay? So that's, I just wanted to clarify that that's kind of the way that I'm understanding the word to do these lessons, is take in our longer 5-minute, which is going to be a little over 5 minutes. I would, like I said, if you got to set your clock, I'd set it for 10. Give yourself 5 minutes to breathe in the realization that my mind holds only what I think with God. And then from that holy place of being, say, as you did yesterday, forgiveness is the key to happiness. Forgiveness offers everything I want. So did you do that way yesterday? And today we'll do the new practice period. I thank my Father for his gifts to me, and let me remember I'm one with God. All associated with the concept, my mind holds only what I think with God. Look what he says at the very beginning of our review. He says, now we review again. This time aware we are preparing for the second part of learning how the truth can be applied. Okay, so he's got something else he's wanting us to be aware of, that we're going to apply these truths. And we're going to be applying them in a way that connects it with another idea and relates it to the lesson prior to, 2 lessons together. Like for yesterday, forgiveness offers everything I want, and forgiveness is the key to happiness, associated with my mind holds only what I think with God. And he said that this is this is going to also prepare us for what's going to follow. So we want to get this really stable in us, because he's going to take us further. You'd think we've already gone so far, but he says, no, we got further to go. It's really beautiful that we have this help. There's a central theme that unites each step in the review we undertake, which is simply, my mind holds only what I think with God. He says this is a fact. This is a fact and represents the truth of what you are and what your Father is. It is this thought by which the Father gave creation. It is this thought by which the Father gave creation to the Son, establishing the Son as co-creator with himself. You're created in the image of God, and as such, you're a creator, just like your Father's a creator. It is this thought which fully guarantees salvation to the Son. For in his mind, no thoughts can dwell but those his Father shares. All right? So in your true mind, in your reality, is that you can only share the thoughts that God shares with you, and that's what makes salvation inevitable. Is it because that's your reality? You've just been dreaming something that's different. You think that you've been separated from God and his thoughts, which can't ever be. Lack of forgiveness blocks this thought from his awareness that you're one with God and that you're a co-creator with your Father. Your lack of forgiveness, your unforgiveness, is what's blocking this thought from your awareness. Yet it is forever true. Okay, so even though it's true, you may not be aware of it. Well, we want to make what's true. We want to be aware of it. Let us begin our preparations. This is in paragraph 5. I wanted to read this to you too. Let us begin our preparation with some understanding of the many forms in which lack of true forgiveness may be carefully concealed. Now, what do we understand to be true forgiveness? It's where we recognize what we thought was occurring. If it's not loving, it can't be. Okay? So we don't want our understanding to lack. We don't want to lack our understanding. Let us begin our preparation with some understanding of the many forms in which the lack of true forgiveness may be carefully concealed. Because they are illusions, they are not perceived to be what they are. Defenses which protect your unforgiving thoughts from being seen and recognized. Okay? So because what they really are defenses, which do what? They are protecting your unforgiving thoughts from being seen and recognized. So we're justifying our lacks of love, and so we want to recognize. We want to stop doing that. So he's given us some help here. Their purpose is to show you something else and hold correction off through self-deception made to take its place. And yet your mind holds only what you think. And yet your mind holds only what you think with God. Your self-deception cannot take the place of truth. No more than can a child who throws a stick into the ocean change the coming and the going of the tides, the warming of the water by the sun, the silver of the moon on it by night. So do we start each practice period in this review with readying our minds to understand the lessons that we read and see the meaning which they offer us. Okay? So what we want to, I guess what I'm trying to emphasize is that it's a slippery slope. Is that how you say it? That when you're deceived by something, you may not even know you're being deceived, at least if you're not looking at it close enough. That's why we need our silent times and our contemplative times, so that God can give us the gift that he wants us to have, which is happiness. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. But we might be lacking practicing true forgiveness. In A Course of Love, he talks about how you may not recognize your opportunities to love as easy as you'll recognize your withholding love. Withholding love is easy to detect if you're observing your state of peace and joy, because you'll recognize a loss of peace just occurred whenever you withhold love. Okay, so do we start each practice period in this review with readying our minds to understand the lessons that we read and see the meaning which they offer us. Begin each day with time devoted to the preparation of your mind to learn what each idea will review that day can offer you in freedom and in peace. Okay, so what will the idea, my mind holds only what I think with God, what can that offer you in freedom and in peace? Open your mind. Okay, that's what I want to emphasize this. Having an open mind and clear it of all the thoughts that would deceive. And let this thought alone engage it fully and remove the rest. My mind holds only what I think with God. Okay, so be sure that I just wanted to emphasize, I'd kind of said something that wasn't exactly accurate yesterday, that we were only going to take 5 minutes. You need 5 minutes just with my mind holds only what I think with God, and then a little more, another minute, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. What you get to choose, but do spend, as he says. I'm kind of a stickler in trying to do the way he says to do it. I don't like to get too caught up in all the details, but we're trying to learn this from a teacher that he put it this way for a reason. So even though we don't want to be ritualistic, as he said, we do want to do what he said to do as accurately as we can. All right? Okay. Before we finish, which what we're gonna look at our lesson one more time. My mind holds only what I think with God. I thank my Father for his gifts to me. Let me remember I am one with God. Before we finish looking at that just a little bit longer, I wanted to tell you a couple more things. And one is I've got this, this is just a common weed here in the Ozarks. Who all knows what it is? It has this central leader that usually sticking up. This particular one was bent over, and this is almost at the place where you wouldn't want to eat the leaves, but they'd still be edible. But when this gets when these leaves get really big and much bigger than what they are, and particularly when the flower starts to come, the leaves get a little bit more bitter and a little too strong to be enjoyable. But at this point, I don't eat a whole lot of it, but I'll mix it in with other greens like spinach or kale, and it gives it a nice flavor. It's a little strong for me by itself, but it's called sourdock, or some people call it curly dock or yellow dock. It's got quite a few different names. But anyway, I just dug it up. It's a weed. It's all over the place. But it is edible. That's what's nice about it. If you're going to make it a staple, you probably want to start on it kind of slowly and eat just a little bit at a time. And I fasted one time for a long, I don't know, I broke a fast, and I was just ravenous for greens. Every time I fast, I get to where I just got to eat greens. I'll just steam up a bunch of greens, eat them raw, eat them steamed. But I ate a bunch of these raw when I was breaking my fast, and they came right back up, or they felt like they were going to come right back up. So they're pretty strong. So anyway, I've always kind of mixed those in with other greens, more like a flavoring. But they actually they do taste good. I do like them. All right, lesson 142. My mind holds only what I think with God. My mind holds only what I think with God. And like I said, we're going to take in the morning and again in the evening 5 minutes. And when you do that, remember, God offers thanks to you who practice thus the keeping of his word. And as you give your mind to the idea for the day, again before you sleep, his gratitude surrounds you in the peace wherein he wills you be forever, and are learning now to claim again as your inheritance. We're learning now to claim again as our inheritance. What? His gratitude surrounds you in the peace wherein he wills you be forever. So he's given us gratitude, and he recognizes that his gratitude surrounds you in the peace wherein he wills you be forever, and are learning now to claim again as your inheritance. All right. So once you've kind of settled in the morning and again in the evening to my mind holds only what I think with God, if you forget what the lesson is, have your book beside you or have your card in your pocket and remind yourself, open your eyes and say, well, today you'll say, I thank my Father for his gifts to me. And let me remember I am one with God. I thank my Father for his gifts to me. Let me remember I am one with God. And another way you might even want to approach this is set your timer for 5 minutes and stay there for 5 minutes. My mind holds only what I think with God. And then when you turn off your timer, don't reset it. And while you're still in that space of realizing my mind holds only what I think with God, then say your lesson for the day. You're going to be doing this for the next 9 days. I thank my Father for his gifts to me. Let me remember I am one with God. You don't have to go back and read the lesson that they came from. You can if you want. There's no reason why you can't, and it would certainly be helpful, but not necessary. Yesterday, forgiveness is the key to happiness. I love that. As a matter of fact, I've based my whole life on it. I even call myself a forgiveness teacher. I'm mainly teaching myself, and hopefully I teach others by being a good example. Forgiveness offers everything I want. Wow, there's nothing, no gift, nothing that we don't want that forgiveness can't give us. Well, that was yesterday's. Today, my mind holds only what I think with God. I thank my Father for his gifts to me. Let me remember I am one with God. And so when you come out of that 5 minutes of saying and preparing yourself with my mind holds only what I think with God, then you're doing what time was made for, he says. And don't get too caught up in how long you spend. You don't have to spend a long time, but you can spend a moment at least, and say to yourself, I thank my Father for his gifts to me. And let each word feel it. You might even, what I do a lot of times is as I'm reciting it in my mind, I thank my Father for his gifts to me, I'll say something like, I have gratitude for all God's gifts. I kind of rearrange the sentence in different ways so that it's meaningful in new ways. And sometimes that'll help us get off dead center or off a kind of a point where we're not getting a lot of meaning out of it. And let me remember I'm one with God. I want to remember that God and I are one. That we are together. It's expressed so well, and my mind holds only what I think with God. All right, so until tomorrow, practice my mind holds only what I think with God. I thank my Father for his gifts to me. Let me remember I am one with God. My mind holds only what I think with God.